Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. It is a beautiful, warm, summer-like day today, and it's kind of giving me a taste of what the greenhouse will be like midsummer with full sun in the afternoon. It's quite hot inside. I have to keep the door open, a fan circulating air, and the automatic vents open up automatically also. But it's still quite hot in here. So I was thinking for the ficus, I wanted to hook up a misting system in the greenhouse that comes on automatically and shoots out mist in the air, which cools the air down, and it also creates a lot of humidity to grow aerial roots on my ficus. So I was looking around and I came across this bucket misting fan system. It's battery operated, and you put it in a 5-gallon pail of water and it sucks the water up, or you can run it from hose water. And it has a fan and it shoots water vapor into the air, and it cools everything down, and it also keeps the air really humid for aerial roots. So I bought one. I'm going to try it out. It'll be here in the next 2 to 4 days, and we'll see how it works in a greenhouse environment, if it's any good or not. It's mid-afternoon, probably the hottest part of the day. So I have the fan down here in the doorway blowing the cool air into the greenhouse. So let's go over to the thermometer here. So here's the temperature. So it's 42 degrees inside, which is 108 degrees Fahrenheit. And outside it is 33 degrees Celsius. So a really warm day here. We only get up to like 34 or 36, about the maximum in the middle of summer. So this is quite an unusual day. But it's a good day to test out how the greenhouse is doing. Up on the top shelf up here is where I have my succulents, and it's even hotter up here. I have to water the succulents thoroughly every day, and I have to kind of mist them midday also to keep them a bit cooler. But they're doing well. They're adapting to the full sun and growing really well. All the other trees in the greenhouse are doing really well. I have no complaints. I think it's really good for them out here in the sunshine. They've kind of adapted to the full sun, and they're starting to grow now, which is just awesome for this time of year. The Toronto Bonsai Society's spring show and sale is coming up soon. It's on May the 21st and the 22nd at the Toronto Botanical Gardens. So I'm going to put a tree in the show. This will be my very first entry into a Toronto Bonsai Society show, so it's quite exciting. This is probably a bigger show than our Kitchener-Waterloo Bonsai Society's club show. So I picked my Sarissa japonica as my entry. So I've got to get a display stand for it. I've got a nice pot, the one from David. I've got to prune the tree up, landscape it with some sand and some moss. But I don't have a stand to put under the pot. So I was looking around in the thrift store today, and I found a tabletop that looked like the right dimensions, and I'll show you what I got. Here is a look at the table I bought, and it was very inexpensive. It was $6.99, and it's all solid wood, so it's not bad looking. When I was in the store, I thought that looks about the right size, but I wasn't sure, so I thought, well, for that price, I'll try it out and see how the pot looks on top. So let's do that now. Here is a look at the tree on top of the table. So there it is. I think the tabletop is a good size for it. It fits, front to back. It's got room. Side to side, it has lots of room. So, yeah, I think it's a good size. It's a little heavy looking. Being, thicker than the pot, I think it would need a cutout so it has legs and an open center section. So I may be modifying it to try and make it work as a stand. Yeah, so that's kind of a look. I think it's a good size. So maybe just some modification to it to turn it into a bonsai stand. I'm hoping at the show that people bring extra stands, and there might be an extra stand that fits this tree really nicely. I'll use that in the show. If not, I'm going to bring this table as a backup. I'll modify it so it works as a stand, just in case, you know, I can't find a better Japanese or Chinese stand to put under the tree. The viewing height is quite important on this tree. If you're up high like this, all you see is the canopy. So you kind of have to view the tree from, you know, down low at about this angle to see the branch structure, the trunk, and the roots. You know, maybe even lower is preferable. So you're kind of looking up at the branch structure a bit. So I need a stand that's fairly tall. I think this is enough, but we'll see. I guess it all depends on the table height, but I think this will help elevating it a bit so it's, you know, not just sitting on the table with maybe a bamboo mat underneath it or something like that. I think it needs to be elevated just a bit. I have a fair amount of work to do on this tree before the show. I've got to separate my foliage pads. They've all kind of grown together into one big umbrella canopy. So I've got to separate all my pads that are attached to each branch, giving them some space between them. It'll also need a final pruning before the show to get all the new growth in check. It's not too bad now, but there's still, you know, a while to go before the show. So by the time the show comes along, these shoots will have extended quite a bit. I've also got to clean out, you can see some of the older yellow leaves in here. So you've got to make sure there's no yellowing leaves on the tree at the time of the show, that it's all nice and green and healthy looking, which it is really healthy. It's looking good. I don't know if it'll flower for the show. If I didn't prune it, maybe it would, but I don't think the flowers are that important. It's more, you know, getting the foliage pads in shape so you can see the branch structure and to make it look nice and miniature. The sand color down here, I've thought about that. If I go with like a desert tan sand, like playground sand and my white sand mixed together, which I have done, it's kind of close to the trunk color, that sort of tan color. So I was thinking, you know, going for the reddish colored African soil. I think that would look better. So I've got, you know, a reddish soil, which is the red is the opposite of green, which would kind of make the foliage pop out a bit. I'll have little moss bushes in here, which will also make those pop out a bit. And I think it'll kind of tone in nicely with the color of the pot down here. That was the aim, is this is sort of the trunk color down here, and this will be sort of the sandy color. So I think that'll look really good. This color also tones in nicely with the display stand, hopefully. So yeah, there's some work to go on the tree. I'm not going to do it quite yet. I'm going to do it closer to the time of the show. If you put the sand on too early, you can get a bit of algae, green algae on the sand. So I'll leave the sand till a couple of days before the show before I apply that. The pruning, I also will leave it grow for a little longer to get some strength in the tree before I prune it once again. But I can definitely work on the display stand. All right, I'll get the tree back in the greenhouse, get it watered. In this warm weather, the trees use a lot of water. There's a lot of water that evaporates, and the trees use a lot of water to keep themselves cool. So luckily I had a full cube of rainwater. My IBC container was right full, 1,000 liters. I've used about maybe a quarter of it already, and there's no rain in the forecast for the next 6 days, so I think I'll be okay. I think it'll last just fine, but I'm sure glad I had that big cube full of rainwater. All right, it's time to water the trees. I love watering in the greenhouse because you never have to worry about water dripping all over the floor. You just water them till it starts dripping out the bottom, it's thoroughly soaked, and move on to the next tree. So with this warm weather, I've been watering 2, sometimes 3 times a day in the greenhouse here, watering and misting. Keeping them all hydrated and cool. I even water my desert roses, which is maybe a little daring, but they seem to be doing all right. I finished the watering in both greenhouses, so it's quite a bit cooler in here now. It is 31 degrees Celsius or 88 degrees Fahrenheit, so a lot better than before. The sun's kind of getting a bit lower in the sky, so it's kind of cooling down a bit in the greenhouse here, which will make the plants really happy. I'll show you an update on the Austrian pine. So the new needles are coming out, looking quite miniature at the moment. Now they will, slowly grow throughout the year, but it's a nice time to look at the tree. Looks like I could give it a bit of water too. Yeah, so there's my 2 leaders. They haven't really come out yet, but I guess they're still kind of extending and growing. So the 2 leaders up here, it's an effort to thicken the overall trunk size, and I'm hoping to get it to smooth out a bit. So if I grow the trunk a little larger, maybe some of the, where it bulges out here and then bulges in here, maybe it'll make the trunk a little smoother. That's what I'm hoping. I'm really looking forward to the Toronto Bonsai Society's spring show and sale. I'll put a link in the description below to the Toronto Bonsai Society. So if you're from out of town, you can check out all the details about the show, where it is, how much it costs to get in, when it's open, because there's always a lineup to get in at the start of the show. And I think this show is going to be spectacular because a lot of people have been home. It's been 2 years since the show, so a lot of these trees have had a lot of work in the last 2 years done to them. So I expect some good surprises at the show, some really good looking trees. So I'll also show you the Toronto Bonsai Society's show poster. That's the poster for the show. So tomorrow I'm going to start working on the stand that goes underneath my Sarissa. A lot of people have been asking me about the big red maple that I collected from the front yard, if it's still alive. So here it is today. It's looking quite nice. I mean, it has big leaves, but it looks nice. The canopy's a nice shape. Nice tree to have on the bench. I've still got some watering to do with the trees out on the benches here. And that's going to be it for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.